Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch, and welcome to what I hope is going to be a fairly short and straightforward modification video today. Hardlex sucks. There you go, I said it out loud and it's not the first time that I've said it. I've made no secret about my lack of admiration for Seiko's proprietary mineral crystal in the past. I think frankly customers are getting ripped off, especially when they're putting Hardlex on watches north of $400 US. I get all the arguments, it's better for dive watches, it doesn't shatter, it scratches. But this Seiko SNK-L23 is far from a dive watch. Now the SNK-L23 is getting increasingly difficult to find these days. Lovely little watch, but thanks to a Hodinkee article, thanks to a TTV video, and I've got to take a little bit of the blame for that one myself, these watches are now nigh on impossible to find. All is not lost, however. You'll find links in the description for the SNK-L15, 17, 19 and 21, all at $69.99 from Joma Shop. Yes, Joma Shop is legit. All of them very, very similar watches, essentially identical apart from the dial colour to the SNK-L23. You can imagine my horror then when I scratched my lovely little SNK-L23, a dirty great big mark next to the date window at 3 o'clock. But all is not lost, however, thanks to a lovely piece of sapphire crystal with purple AR coating. Let's flip the camera and get it installed. So let's start by having a look at the offending item, and boy am I offended. Nasty big gouge there just underneath the date window between the 3 and the 4. Now I have by no means been rough with this watch. In fact, I haven't worn it an awful lot. The last time I remembered wearing this for any length of time was I took it on holiday with me as my kind of dressy option in November last year. Took it out of the watch roll that I was keeping it in, a little watch box thing, in December last year, and found that nasty scratch on the Hardlex crystal. So it went back in a box and I didn't really think about this little SNK-L23 for a while. For some reason I just didn't think about replacing this with sapphire. I didn't think that sapphire was available for these little watches, and I almost yelped with joy when I found a replacement crystal on the CRYSTALTIMES horology website. Not cheap though, all things considered. I paid $35 US for the piece of crystal. This one, the CT83 with purple anti-reflective coating. I think that'll go nicely with the black. Now, I only paid $75 for the watch. So, you know, you're spending nearly 50% of the purchase price on the piece of sapphire, but I suspect it's going to be worth it in the end. Plus, I owe this little watch a favour or two. I've got over 200,000 views for my unboxing and review of this little Seiko, so the least I could do is give it a piece of decent sapphire. So what have I got today then? Well, the usual selection of eBay purchase rubbish. Obviously I've got the watch and the crystal as mentioned. I've also got an ostrich strap, which I'm going to try on here. I think it should look pretty flash. A movement holder for the 7S26 inside. I'm also going to use a little bowl today to cover that up to prevent dust. Puffer helping me with that. Spring bar, the Bergeon, a little cloth. Case back remover, and the watch crystal press and die, and also gloves. Not a lot of gear really required today then. First up then, let's remove the nasty Seiko bracelet. Easier said than done with some of these Seiko 5s. There we go, there is a bit of a technique to them, but never quite as easy as you hope it might be. Next up, remove the case back. I should bring in the big lumpy bit of plastic at this point also to help me. Okay, case back off. Next up, I'll zoom in, release the crown and extract the movement, pop it in the movement holder. All of these 7S26s just have a little release lever there. You push that down, that one there, and the crown just pops straight out. There it is. I'm going to give this one a little bit of gentle persuasion to help extract the movement. And hopefully sit nicely on there. Now I'm going to cover it with a bowl today, something I didn't do last time. I'm learning every one of these videos that I make, and it can disappear into the corner to reappear as if by magic later on. Okay, so on to the fun slash scary part, removing and replacing the crystal, but aren't the fun things in life always a little bit scary? So I've got a 42mm die on the bottom, a 28mm die on the top. The 42 should house the case nicely, the 28 should push down on the crystal, popping it out from the front without fouling the case on the way down. Let's give this a shot. Now that sounded good, but I'm not sure if it has worked. It's worked enough. I think I can just pop out the crystal. There it is. Now there is a little crystal gasket, a rubber seal, still in situ in the case. This is a fairly new watch. It hasn't got wet before, so I'm just going to leave that today. I'm not going to replace it, and I'm just going to feed the new sapphire crystal in by hand first of all before putting it into the crystal press. It's glove o'clock. As mentioned, I chose the purple AR. I thought there was a choice of green, blue, no AR, but this one I thought a little bit of purple. I don't think it's particularly noticeable. There we are, you can just see a tiny little purpley tinge there to it. I thought that would complement the black face of the SNKL23 nicely. There's a bit of a dome to it. I can see just that side, so I'm gonna squeeze it in gently. Definitely the gloves at this point, the last thing you want to do rather, is get sticky fingerprints on your crystal. Houston, we have a problem. Bit of a time shift here. I'm currently recording on the 15th of May, having recorded the first half of this video on the 1st of May. Problem being that the piece of sapphire crystal supplied as fitting the Seiko SNKL23 does not fit the Seiko SNKL23. Now the HARDLEX in the watch is 30mm, the supplied piece of crystal was 29mm, so I contacted CRYSTALTIMES and they sent me this, the 63 LD, also with purple anti-reflective coating. I asked if I had made a mistake, but they didn't respond to my question. So my recommendation to you is that if you're trying this for yourself, remove the HARDLEX first and measure it yourself. That's the only way that you can be sure you're ordering the right piece of crystal. So let's crack on with the new piece of sapphire then, shall we? So that's the new piece of sapphire just gently placed in the case with the original bezel gasket still in place. Just gonna give it a little push, see if I can get it finger tight. Still wriggling around a little bit in there, so I've got the two die, slightly different, a 42 and a 30 this time to look after the case, but also give me a little bit of pressure on the crystal to insert it. And there we are, nice. Let's have a look at it from the side-on perspective. Looks pretty good to me, nice and consistent, nice and even, nice and flush all the way around. I'm going to give the case a quick polish and set about reinserting the movement. So I've been nice and careful not to get any sticky fingerprints on the underside of the crystal. Just going to give it a little bit of a puffing there as well to blow out any bits of dust that may have got in over the last minute or two. Bring in the movement, which I've managed to keep covered over the last 2 weeks while I waited for the replacement crystal to arrive. And I'm just going to somewhat awkwardly tip the movement into the case. Give it a push. So the movement is now back in the case. I just gave a little bit of a push on the plastic movement holder there just to ensure that it was seated nicely. In theory, the crown should just slide straight back in if it's properly aligned. And there we are. That's a pretty good sign. I'll put the case back on now, hand tight, flip it over and just check everything's good before I tighten it up. There we are, you can see that nice little bit of purple AR doing just what I was hoping it was going to do against that black dial. Let's get a zoom in and see if I can spot any specks of dust before I tighten it up. There we go, what do you reckon? I reckon that's pretty good. I'm not working in a dust-free environment, so there's always going to be risks of getting little bits of fluff in there, but I think that's pretty good. Case back on then. Given that the watch was only 30 meters water resistance in the first place and I have no intention of getting this one wet, I'm not really that bothered about having cracked the back on it. It's not like doing the same thing to a diver. Alright, let's pop on that ostrich for the final flourish. Look at that. Let's give it a quick polish and get it on wrist. And there is the wee honey back on my wrist for the first time in about 5 months. Looking sensational. Now sporting the piece of domed sapphire crystal they arguably should have had in the first place. Big thanks also to the ostrich for laying it down its life for that strap. Let's not talk about value today. There seems to be little value for money putting a piece of $35 crystal and a $40 strap on a $75 watch. But hey, there's no logic to love, is there? And I do love this little Seiko. Looks great. Zoomed right in, and the purple AR proving to be the good choice. Definitely better than the green, blue or no AR. Nicely playing with my studio lighting here, complementing the black dial very nicely indeed. Very subtle dome on the crystal, just enough to put a little bit of distortion on the dial at the extremities of the viewing angle. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So there you have it, perhaps not the simple and straightforward mod video that I was anticipating due to the fact that I got the wrong piece of sapphire crystal. What I think about today's mod then? Well, the value equation doesn't really stack up, spending $35 on a $70 watch, but I don't care. I love that little SNK L23 and I love it even more with a piece of sapphire on the dial. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.